Hi everyone, it's Elisa with XYZ Wellness, and I just wanted to create a short video this morning for you about frog pose. So someone in a group that I'm in made a comment about frog pose and not being able to do it, or maybe choosing not to do it. And I love frog pose. It's a great hip opener. And we all carry a lot of tension and stress and tightness in our hips, most of us anyway. It's a place where emotion tends to settle in, and that's why we have some of that tightness. So I'm going to show you a few variations of frog and give you a couple ideas so that maybe you, and if it's a new pose to you, maybe it'll be something that you add to your practice or something that you do from time to time. Or again, giving you the option to do a variation of it, which is half frog. So first I'll show you how we basically would set up for frog pose. And you can either roll up the sides of your mat like this, or if you wanted to, you could use blankets on either side. And, maybe playing around to see what your comfortable distance is and having it so that you can have both knees on the rolled up portion of mat or on some rolled up blankets. And then our feet can go out to the side. So again, this is called frog pose. So thinking about having our legs look like a frog's leg. And we're going to have roughly a 90-degree angle. So roughly a 90-degree angle here, at the hip, at the knee, and then at the foot. So not worrying if they're perfect. And if you'd like, maybe placing a blanket like I have or a pillow in front of you. And then just starting to make your way down onto your forearms. You could interlace your fingers. And from here, you might choose to have a little rocking motion, maybe back and forth or side to side, just to experiment with the sensation in your hips. And any movement that you do choose to add, I'd really recommend having it be a nice, slow movement. And you can stay here for as long as feels good. I definitely recommend being with your breath. And what I mean by that is if you notice that your breath starts to get labored or you're holding your breath, maybe adjusting the movement or the pose or coming out of it. And you notice when I'm in this version of frog, the more traditional version of frog, my hips are up quite high. And again, I'm down on my forearms and either staying still or adding that movement that we talked about. And you can stay here as long as you'd like, but the key was that I really wanted you to notice that I'm up a bit higher. So when we come into half frog, we're actually going to lower down to the floor more. And what I do with half frog, and you might want to have a blanket next to your yoga mat. So coming all the way down onto the belly, and you can start out kind of like Sphinx pose with elbows underneath the shoulders and just laying long. So for Sphinx pose, this is more of a back bend, and we want to make sure that our shoulders are down away from the ears, so rather than crunching up almost like a turtle, lifting up and out, and hips are pressing down into the mat. Now, if this is too much intensity already, and we haven't even added the frog part of our pose here, you can lower the forehead down to the mat. So either way, that feels comfortable as your starting point. And then we're just going to bend that left knee out to the side. So again, we're going to get our 90-degree angles at the ankle, the knee, and then to the hip. So from here, we could either stay with the forehead down on the mat, or you could come back into that position of Sphinx with the upper body. For some people, this is going to be too intense for the lower back. So if this is too much, remembering we have the option of lowering down. And just remembering what I showed you before with the hips. So right now my hips are pretty much on the ground. Both hips are facing the floor pretty evenly. And now it's a much more subtle expression of the movement or of the pose. But we could stay here probably quite a bit longer in this version of our frog. And again, just noticing the breath, noticing how this feels in the hip. If we get any discomfort in the foot or the ankle, you could add in some little ankle circles. And then just to be even on both sides of the body, we'll lower down, bring that left leg back in, and then we'll shift it all the way over to the other side of the mat. If you have a blanket on the other side, great. If not, maybe trying to keep that knee on the mat. And again, finding what feels good to you here. One thing that you might want to do if you're in the lifted version is just take a block or a sofa cushion underneath the forehead, letting the back of the neck relax and just breathing here. So you might notice one side feels a little more open than the other, and that's pretty natural. Breathing into any sensations here. So we didn't stay too long on that first side, so we won't stay too long on this side either. Just kind of wanted to give you an idea of how we can modify frog pose. There are a couple different options. And then whenever we're coming out, we'll straighten that leg. You want to allow the spine to neutralize a little bit. And I'm going to scoot into the middle of the mat. One thing you can do, one thing that's really nice after frog pose is just bending the knees, letting the feet sway from side to side. It's almost as if our lower legs are like seaweed on the bottom of the ocean. And then just lowering down. So that was your quick little tip of the day for frog pose and also half frog pose. So I hope you enjoy it. And if there are any other poses that you have questions about or anything else that you'd like to see health related, please let me know and have a wonderful day. Thanks so much. Namaste.